Samantha Mogwe, welcome to the 20th Avenue podcast. How you doing, my sister?
I'm great. I am as good as can be under the circumstances.
Yeah, so the family is growing. How are the babies?
The babies are stressful, yo. The youngest one started walking a few months ago, and it's chaos at home. It's chaos. So today we put up the Christmas tree, and yeah, I think it was a bad idea because she wants to play with everything except her toys. Now the Christmas tree is the new toy, but the babies are healthy, the babies are good, and that's all I can, be really grateful for. We're good. Yeah.
Will you find the Christmas tree when you get back
I
home?
don't think so. She's like taking the things off and throwing them. I don't even know what I was trying. I was just like, okay, maybe she won't touch it. But I think she sees there's something new in the sitting room, and she's just like, yeah, that's the new toy now.
Okay, so this is her first Christmas, right?
This is her second Christmas.
Oh, but the Christmas tree is something.
This is her, yeah. I get it. Last year, Christmas time, she was 3 months, so she was not mobile.
Okay.
She was not mobile, she wasn't moving, she was just there, looking. This time around, she's independent to a certain degree, so she's using her legs. She's using them.
All right. Okay. We'll get back to the family. Yeah. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, take us back to those days when you're still like performing Go My African Dream. Yeah.
Such good memories. My African Dream is actually the first platform where I learned the whole concept of you need to rehearse, you need to be take what you do seriously. That's really the platform that gave me a bit of insight on showbiz, because at the time it was broadcasting on TV, so they had to do things properly. And I think at that time I was like 14 or 15, and I remember being forced to join my African Dream. My best friend, she's the more outspoken one in our friendship relationship, and so she likes the cameras, she likes the lights, she likes the glitz. And at the age of 14, 15, she was like, no, we need to join and we need to sing this song. So she's the one who took the lead. She picked the song. She was like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna audition. So I was just like, okay. Even though I really didn't want to do it because, believe it or not, I'm shy.
Okay.
But yeah, so my best friend Daphne is the one who took the lead. And I tell you, that was the best decision. I think also it taught me the importance of doing things when you're afraid. I was petrified, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was petrified, but I just joined the competition with her, and we actually came second in our category. So that was a big deal. And because of that, I then got into contact with one of the organizers of my African Dream. Her name is Mandy, and she said to me, "No, Samantha, you can actually sing." At the time, I was like, I don't think I can sing. I think my voice is just okay. And so she took me in and she trained me. Yeah, so I did vocal coaching with her. She was coaching me for about a year and a half. And I think that was very important because she taught me how to take care of your voice, what works, what doesn't work. And just also appreciating the uniqueness of my voice and not trying to be a Beyonce when I don't sing like a Beyonce.
Okay.
So she taught me the importance of capitalizing on what it is that makes my voice unique. Right. And yeah, I loved that entire experience of being on stage afraid and it opening doors and other opportunities at the tender age of 15. So that was my African Dream. And I think also just the people I met there. ATI was also in my African Dream.
Wow.
You had a couple of other people who were on my African Dream. That's why I met boy T Izzy. I don't know if you know T Izzy. T Izzy. Tepang. Yeah, he used to come to the rehearsal. I think one of his friends was rapping in my African Dream, and somewhere somehow that's where we met. Must be in some African Dream. I lot of amazing people came through the stage of My African Dream. If I'm not mistaken, I think Eskimos also came through My African Dream. We had a couple of amazing dancers who also came through that space. So it was also a great, I don't know if I should call it networking opportunity at that age, right? Networking. And also being able to see how other people came up in the industry from that platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how was the experience though? Like fresh, and were you aware that maybe one day you'll be a household name?
Never, ever. Look, I enjoyed singing, but I enjoyed singing in my bathroom.
Okay.
I enjoyed singing in my bedroom. I enjoyed singing all at bed, and that's about it at home. I didn't in a million years assume that people would sing my music, and I just thought, okay, this is great, but I didn't think I really wanted to pursue it. Funny enough, I actually wanted to get into fashion design. So that's what I wanted to do, and I found my way onto the singing stage. Still a creative avenue, I guess, right?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
So before we talk about, we proceed, what was the influence behind the music? Like, is it something that started from home, or you come from a family background whereby they are musicians, or you're in the church choir?
I think there were so many elements where I drew influence from. None of my parents are musical at all. But I realized that they're creative. So my family is very creative, even in the extended family. And I guess I'm also lucky in the fact that my entire family, some families, if you say you want to do something that's creative, and if you want to veer off from the job descriptions that people know, doctor, lawyer, they'll tell you no. I come from a family that always encouraged me to be on the stage. Okay. Even the times when I was joining with My African Dream, my family was always there. And I think also it really helped that I was a good student at school. I was doing well academically, so I didn't give them reason to worry. There never was a time where they said, hey, Udiwa, give music you. It's because of this music that you're not doing well. So I kind of maybe made it a bit easier for them to be supportive, if you might see it as that. But yeah, I come from a very creative family. My parents used to listen to music all the time. At the time, you had video cassettes.
Yeah.
So I remember my dad used to collect the video cassette, and Michael Bolton, Bob Marley, Madonna. So even the names I'm mentioning is like all different genres. It's not just your R&B or what. So my dad used to listen to all these artists, Bo, Yvonne Chaka. So he used to cross over with South Africa, other African artists, American artists, and my mom also, I guess, she listened to some music. And then my older siblings, I'm the third, so I've got an older sister and a brother. So my older siblings introduced me to like your hip hop and R&Bs, an appreciation of just also listen to all sorts of music, house music, whatever you want to call it. So I grew up listening to, believe it or not, Patra. Oh my gosh, Patra.
Okay.
An appreciation of obviously your Michael Jacksons, an appreciation of your Lauryn Hills, your Jill Scott. So I grew up listening to everything because the influence from the people at home who are older than me, it trickled down. And then of course then you listen to your pop music, your Spice Girls, and even now I listen to everything. I listen to everything, and I think that gives me an appreciation when it comes to how I write my music and just being able to craft my music the way I do. So yeah, a lot of influence based on the listening of music. And then my older sister used to be part of, I don't know if you know the Exodus Live Poets. Back in the day, they used to have...
back in the days, I mean,
Yes, they used to have these sessions. So my older
sister... Quest.
My older sister was part of Exodus Live Poets.
Okay.
So what did she do? Because she knew I could sing, she would drag me along to those sessions. There I was, 16.
Okay.
She would drag me along to those, and then slowly but surely, because she knew I loved to sing, but she knew I was afraid. I didn't know if I could do it, that was it. And she's like, nope, it cannot be it. So now what she started doing is when she would recite her poetry, she's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I'll recite my poetry, we'll practice, you'll do the singing or whatever. So that was the beginning of me appreciating live music, because within Exodus Live Poets, they had live musicians who were part of that. And so sometimes we'd practice and you'd have your person playing guitar for you. And then also every year they had their annual festival, which I was also a part of. And it was just a crazy experience, but also I appreciated just being there as one of the youngest people there, watching all these adults writing poetry, reciting, and bringing in an aspect of your neo soulness to it, and it was just amazing. So the musical influence went into that direction, and then slowly but surely I found my way to the church praise and worship team, which was also amazing. Singing in church is an amazing experience. So then I started serving in my youth group, and I was serving on the praise and worship team, and I think also that gave me insight when it comes to scheduling rehearsals with a band.
Yeah.
How to deal with people different. Yo guys dealing with church people. You need grace, because we're all people at the end of the day, right? And you have to figure out, how to talk to certain people, what not to say, how to bring out the best in certain people, and how to maneuver. So that then gave me an insight of dealing with my own band members and just scheduling rehearsals. How do we have a schedule that works for everybody? Where's the common ground? How do we move forward? Who's the music director? Who's in charge of this? So yeah, church praise and worship also helped me navigate a lot.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, so we've been to church, been singing in the church, part of the poetry movement, been through My African Dream, and what prompts you to take it the professional route now?
I don't even know. I think it was just a crazy thing on my part. I know, and it was a conviction for me, and I knew that I was supposed to be singing in this season. This is what I'm supposed to do, and it was such a difficult decision for me, because I've always found myself being forced to be in the forefront when it comes to music, and yet I'm always very happy to be in the background. For me, I'm very happy to be in the background, and I just got to a place where I didn't want to get to the end of my life knowing that I was supposed to do something, and then you look back in regret. You can imagine how many people regret not doing what they know they're supposed to be doing because they were afraid, or the path that they chose was comfortable and more convenient. Look, the life of a musician and a singer is not comfortable. It's not convenient. I think the life of an artist is not. And especially when you're trying to make money out of it, it is one of the hardest roads to take. Also knowing that a level of your privacy will, you will not have full privacy in your life. There's so many things that you give up to take this road of being an artist and being known and seen by people. But I got to the point, I think I was like 22, and I was just like, I counseled myself, I prayed, I was like, Sam, do you want to get to the end of your life and look back and be a miserable old woman? Because some people get so miserable when they're doing what they're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And
I was just like, let me just see where this goes. If I fail, at least I've tried, right? It's better than most people who haven't tried. So that is actually how I jumped into music. And I had so many opportunities to jump into music earlier on, but I felt like I wasn't ready. I didn't feel like my grounding was solid enough. I didn't feel like I knew the direction I wanted to take. I didn't feel like I would have a say in the direction that I wanted to take. Because it's so easy as well to lose yourself in this path. It is so easy, and I did not want to lose myself. I wanted to, of course, have fun. I wanted to know the direction I was taking, and I just wanted to be allowed to be me. That's it. I wanted to be allowed to be me.
Yeah. And the good thing is you haven't lost yourself. How have you managed to keep everything together? No scandals.
First of all, my people would not allow.
Who is my people?
My people, like my close people, would never. They're very quick to keep me in check. And I think it's so important. You need that. You need people who are not afraid to tell you when you are being silly. Like you really need, people that you've allowed in who are able to be like, no, come on, now you're being a bit too much.
Yeah.
My siblings do that. My mother, my close friends, they will tell me. Like if I'm being a bit too extra, they are not afraid to tell me. And I guess I've allowed that because I've realized that sometimes you need external people to be able to keep you in check. Because it's so easy to let everything get to your head. It's very, very easy. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we were talking about two things that really show the character of somebody: money and power.
Yes.
And I would include power. I would also include fame in power.
Yeah.
When somebody becomes rich, if they behave a certain way, I'm of the belief that they've always been like this. It's just the only difference is you never really knew because they didn't have the money, right?
Yeah.
And when somebody gets power or becomes famous and they start behaving a certain way, they've always been like that. It's just these things that allow them access into certain spaces. These things that allow them a certain mode of invincibility. It just brings to the surface the character of a person. But I've found it's very important for me to keep my people who keep me in check there, and also to just self-evaluate. Self-evaluation, yeah. I think too much. I think too much sometimes. But I appreciate that because just in life you need to make sure that you're self-evaluating and seeing if this is what you want for your life. Yeah.
Alright. So you get into the studio, record your first single, your first album, Transition, with 5 on the keys.
Yes.
Yeah. How was the experience?
Believe it or not, I didn't want that song to be my first single.
Wow. Which song did you want to be like?
I don't even know, but not that song. I personally don't enjoy studio.
Why?
Because just the whole thing of having to retake and then you have to get into yourself and draw out the emotion and retake and re-record and I would rather have a live show. That for me is where the life of music is.
Okay.
Because you can't be like, cut, let me guys, we've messed up, let's go. Okay, some people do that, but you can't retake the same song 20 times. And I think for me, just that yes, you've prepared, yes, you've rehearsed, and that spontaneous energy that comes with live performances. So I don't particularly enjoy studios because it's also just so emotionally taxing. Now, us working on that body of work, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. I had to dig into places that I had to, some places that I had kind of like, when you suppress certain things. And then also worked on some music with some other people on that project, and like stuff just like got deleted. They had to re-record, and I can tell you the frustration that comes with having to re-record a song that you knew that you finished and finished well because it wasn't packed up properly. Things go wrong all the time. But apart from the frustration, it was scary. It was a scary experience because I was still kind of figuring out my sound. And then it was also scary because I'm like, what if Why do people don't like it? But overall, I can tell you I really enjoyed the experience because it forced me to level up and step up and just try this, try that. If you listen to the entire body of work, it's so different. I worked with Favi on there, I worked with BK Proctor on there, I worked with just amazing people. I worked with another guy called Joe. I worked with amazing people. They're very different. All of them are very different. And I guess their job was to try and bring out the best out of me.
Which they did.
I hope they did. I hope they did. And that's another thing when it comes to working with producers. It's always so tricky because you don't know how the energy is going to be. Fabi, I worked with him before starting to work on the body of work. So I kind of knew him. And on top of that, he went to school with my older sister. So I kind of knew him. BK Proctor, I started to know when we started working on the project. So I kind of didn't know him, but now we're good friends. Bojo, I didn't really know him. So now this is me coming in, working with people. Some people I know, some people I don't know. Having to get comfortable, because the only way you can bring out a good body of work is if you're comfortable with the person you're working with. And if they know how to communicate with you, and both of you know how to communicate with each other. If I tell you, okay, I'm feeling sad today, and that's the emotion that I want to bring out in the song we're working on today, is the person able to tap into that emotion? Okay, I feel like I want to record a song about traveling the world. We're living our best lives. Is the person who's recording you, the person on production, able to bring in elements that are going to convey that emotion to the listener? When the person listening is listening, they're like, oh, that's exactly how I feel today. I'm getting on a plane, I want to go to New York. So it's always so tricky, but at the end of the day, we really were able to put together a body of work. And the last part of putting together the album was the hardest, because by that time I was so tired. I was like, what are we doing? I'm so tired. When are we finishing? When are we wrapping up the recording part? Because after recording, remember, now you have to think of visuals. You have to constantly be thinking of, okay, how is it going to roll out? How are we going to take it to radio? There's a lot that goes into it. So it was a learning experience. And then on executive production, the person who really was gluing the whole project together was a guy called Kevin Malik. So he's the one who was communicating with the producers, communicating with publishers. So he's the one who literally brought everything together. And I think that was so important because it took the pressure off of me, so I could focus on what it is that I needed to do. Of course, I had input and I was like, no, why can't we do this? But there was one person who was literally gluing everything together. And I think I appreciated that, and I learned the work that goes behind the music. Because when you're young, you just want to sing. You don't know everything that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it, and it gave me an appreciation. So yeah.
So what prompted the sound on the album, on the project? Because from my perception or view, it's more of like R&B, something which is not common in Botswana, but it was well received.
That was also another fear of mine. I was like, okay, Botswana people aren't really recording the type of R&B that I like. Like I said earlier on, I have different musical influences, but the biggest musical influence is from an R&B perspective. Your SWVs, your Total, your Brandy, a lot of R&B influence, and I didn't want to pretend to be anything that I wasn't. A lot of people were like, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do jazz? Why don't you do... And I love those genres, don't get me wrong, but I just felt it would be an injustice if I was pretending to be something that I'm not. And I guess for me, it worked because people could see the authenticity of it. Like, people can read through. You can't
Yeah.
lie to people.
Yeah.
And also when you lie to people, you've got to keep it going, and it's very exhausting.
Yeah.
And I guess people appreciated also the fact that, oh wait, here's Manamutswana who's decided to do something that's not common at the time. Now I see a lot of R&B artists who are stepping up and stepping out, and I tell you, it really warms my heart, because I'm like, this is what we need for our industry to grow. So it wasn't a difficult decision to really come up with the sound, because the number one thing was to be authentic. I had to fully be myself throughout the whole process. Of course, we were adding elements from this genre and genre, but the main element of it was your R&B soul influence, because that literally is the influence that I have. And I think also just the texture of my voice allows for it. The texture of my voice has a little bit of raspiness to it, not too much, and it's got this, I can't quite explain it, but it's an R&B voice.
Yeah.
So it made perfect sense. It wasn't something where we sat and said, okay, let's think, what genre should Samantha do? No, it wasn't rocket science. It was just like, this is the influence, this is the type of voice, this is the type of music that I enjoy, this is the genre that I enjoy. Why not?
Okay. So the album drops, the single drops, the album drops.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of bookings in high places, festivals, dropping music videos, which are so nice with Bozus and the likes. And you're getting famous. How did you handle the fame then? And did you have any male groupies?
First of all, when the single dropped, I wasn't even in town. I wasn't in town. It was so funny.
Wow.
It was so funny. Let me give you a backstory of the single, first of all, Transition. I used to be part of a creative group called Inside Out. And in this creative group, there were lots of different people. You had your singers, your writers, you had your painters, you had your screenwriters, you had your visual artists, a lot of people. Now, anybody who knows me, they know that for me to write, I need to be getting some sort of something from a creative person. So I enjoy watching movies, listening to music, I enjoy anything creative, and that's what encourages me to write. So in this collective, we used to put together monthly shows, and the whole point of it was to challenge ourselves. So let's say, for example, we know that 16 Days of Activism is starting. Okay, let's put together a show for that. This is the theme. I have to write a song from scratch. Somebody has to do a painting from scratch. Somebody has to do a play from scratch and do a monologue from scratch. And so that pushes you to keep writing, to keep creating. And during the time when I wrote Transition, 2 months before, an uncle of mine, a very close uncle, had passed away. He had lung issues, and this is an uncle who really encouraged me musically. Like, he knew I loved to sing. He was like, and he talked to the owner of Botswana. He's like, look, I have a niece who can sing. You need to give her rehearsal space. So he helped me put my first band together. Like, he was very, very instrumental in pushing me onto performing with live instrumentation before the album came out. And he passed away, and I didn't know how to process it. I'm not his child. How do I process it when he's got kids who've lost a father?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to grieve in this? How am I supposed to grieve? And what happened in the process of me trying to get through my emotions, I had writer's block. It was so bad. And yet this collective is planning a show, and I'm in this collective and I have to write something. And I remember we were in our groups busy trying to come up with, okay, what's the direction? What direction are you going to take for your play? What direction are you going to take for your song? What direction are you going to take for your painting? Because that was the whole process of creating. And I remember being in this group, and they were asking me questions, and I was so overwhelmed, and I just started crying, and they were like, okay, what did we do? And I'm like, okay, they let me let it out. And then when I was ready to talk, they were like, okay, so like I can't exactly grieve because I'm not his child, and you know, I'm just their niece. I'm just there, you know. And they were like, okay, write exactly what it is that you're feeling. And that's when I wrote the song Transition, because it was kind of like a transitional period where you're not ready for the changes of not being with this person, you know, who was so influential in your life, somebody who you loved and respected, and they're not here anymore, and they're not here to hold your hand, and not just for you, but for the family. They're not here anymore, and the void is felt because the person is not there anymore. And so that's when that song came about. Then we stepped into studio with Fabi, and Fabi started playing, and I was like, I have the perfect song that I literally just wrote last week for that. And Fabi was able to flesh that song out so beautifully. And I remember him saying, no, we're not going to add too much to the song, because sometimes when you add too much, it takes away from the messaging of it. So it was crazy. And then having it play on radio for the first time, I remember the first person who played it on radio was actually Penyo Maroka. He had the morning show at the time, Goya FM. That was the first time it played, and we had a phone radio interview, and I was freaking out. I was so scared. I was like, people are gonna hate this song because it's like slow, it's very chilled, it's got a lot of emptiness in it. And even though it was deliberate, I'm like, are people gonna get it? Yo, people like, you know, music that's a bit hectic. And the reception of that song was, it went beyond, I think, our wildest dreams. We were shocked. The whole team was shocked. And I think also because, first of all, Botswana weren't even up till now, you know, people don't know that it's a song by Botswana.
Yeah.
Even up till now.
Yeah.
I think first of all, Botswana was shocked that it was Mwana Botswana. Not just singing, but also just from the production point of view, Fabike Mwana Botswana. Everybody was involved in Mwana Botswana. Secondly, also I was also shocked because I didn't know how people would take it. And from that song, I got so many inboxes of people either who were grieving, you know, the loss of a family member, or just, you know, a relationship ending and you don't know what to do. So people interpreted it in different ways, which is fine. That's why we write music, so that you can see it as whatever way, form, and understand in whatever way you want to understand it. And it was so overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. I would get into the shops and, you know, people would notice me, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's going on?
A lot of people actually loved you, like they still love you.
Yeah. It was a good overwhelming. It was, I think I never expected it. What's that? I
Expected
it.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it, but it was amazing. When I step on stage to sing it, you know, people will stop and they still. And I think for me, being able to make timeless music, I think that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Because you can make music and people don't connect with it in the long run. Like, you'll make music and people connect with it because whole festival, you know, and then next February, oh well, it's done and over with.
Yeah.
And just being able to make music that has longevity, I think that was a plus. So I don't know, even up till now, I still get a bit awkward when people notice me, because it's not like we do this because we want to be noticed. We do this because we actually love music and we love what we do. So yeah.
Okay, so the album is dropped now, performing left, right, and center.
Left, right, and center.
And then boom, we see a pregnancy.
Yeah, I like to live my life in a holistic way. You know, so strange enough, when I got pregnant, I had some people saying, yo, how's it gonna affect your career? I'm like, guys, I'm a person.
Yeah.
I'm a person. I've got aspirations that go beyond the career. I want love, I want family, I want a career. I want it all.
Yeah.
I want it all.
Yeah.
And I know for you to have it all, in certain seasons of your life, something has to suffer.
Yeah.
You know, something has to suffer. But just because I want to push music doesn't mean that I don't want a family. I want a family. I want that. So some people were just like, no, what's gonna happen? Woo, your career. I'm like, it's my career. If it goes up, it goes up. If it goes down, it goes down. But yeah, I want a family, because at the end of the day, I want to go home and be next to my husband.
Yes.
I call him husband. I want to hug my kids. It's such a beautiful, overwhelming experience to be able to have a family, and that's something that I wanted. I've wanted that since I was a kid. Okay, so my child came. The first one came, and I would share parts of my life. I don't always share everything on social media and whatnot, but I'd share certain parts of it, and people would be so happy. Like, they'll be like, oh, your son looks like you. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, he's doing that. And in sharing certain aspects, I would find that like people would ask me questions. Oh, how are you homeschooling? Like last year, I nearly did lockdown.
Yeah.
I had to homeschool. Ask me if I enjoy teaching or I didn't have patience, but I had to find it, because I'm like, okay, this child still needs to have some sort of normalcy in his life. Yeah. I had to do that, and I was like, you know what? Let me just share a bit of the homeschooling experience. And I had people say, yo, we're failing to homeschool. You're failing to homeschool. That's fine. If it's not working for you, it's not working for you. We're all different. I share little aspects of my life, and sometimes before COVID, I'll sometimes go to the shops with my son, and people are like, oh, we saw you on Instagram. We saw you.
Does he know what Instagram is?
And well, he doesn't know. He's just like, okay, I'm on the phone, mommy, you're on TV. Okay, what's going on? You're on TV. That's your song playing. Yeah. Now I think he's 5 now, so he's getting it slowly. He's getting it. He doesn't quite know social media, but he knows TV. He knows radio. When he sees me on TV, he's like, oh yeah. Like sometimes if I have to perform somewhere and we know it's gonna be broadcasting on TV, like my husband will record it, and they'll watch it at home. They'll see me on TV, and when I get back home, he's like, yeah, we saw you on TV. We saw you on TV. And so if he hears my song on it, he knows my songs. He knows what my voice sounds like. Wow. So he's at that age where he's able to differentiate. So yeah, I love having a family. I really think it's important, because it's taught me. I learned so much. It's taught me patience. It's also taught me, I think, a level of empathy towards being a working mom is not easy. And I get it sometimes when mothers tell me I'm tired. I'm like, I know we're tired. We are tired. So I think before having a child, I would say I understand, but I didn't understand. I really didn't understand. I was just like, no, I understand. But now that I'm in the thickness of all the madness, I understand. I understand the importance of trying to prioritize and see where your efforts and your time needs to go. And I understand when someone tells me, no, I can't do this. I'm like, okay, healthy boundaries, you can't do it because your priorities are, that's fine. And because I'm also having to learn that myself. I've had to learn to say no to certain things because priorities don't allow. I can't do this at this time. I have to pick up my son from school. Yeah. I can't do this. And I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say, no, my child is something. I'm not afraid to say it. Because the reality is, we've got kids. Why must we hide that we've got parental obligations?
Yes.
Why must we hide that? So, yeah, I'm enjoying motherhood. I'm enjoying even the frustrating times. It's a great experience.
So, people know you as a reserved person, extremely quiet.
I am sometimes.
Talented, and there was another shocker.
What's the shocker?
We never expected it for you to be on radio.
That was a shocker.
And host an afternoon drive show.
That was a shocker.
Yeah.
The strange thing is, I grew up listening to radio. I think the radio station that introduced us to urban music was Yarna FM.
Yes.
Back in the day, we would also record some of the music on cassettes, and and then obviously you've got And then how did I end up on Gabs FM?
Yeah. An adult contemporary radio station.
Right. The year before I sent in a CV and a demo, I just had this feeling that I had to prepare for public speaking. Don't ask me. Something just said, you need to prepare for being able to speak in public, because as much as I enjoyed singing and whatnot, people were constantly asking me to speak, and yet I was afraid of speaking in front of people. I felt like I couldn't construct my sentences properly. I felt like it's too much and it overwhelmed me. And I said, okay, I don't know why I need to prepare for speaking, but I need to. So I joined this thing called Toastmasters. And the whole point of Toastmasters is to teach you how to do public speaking. So whether you're going to be doing public relations or in a marketing role, or if you are going to be on TV or radio, wherever you're going to speak, or if you're going to be asked at your friend's wedding to do a last minute emceeing thing because the MC is stuck somewhere, you've been thrown under the bus last minute. That was the whole point of Toastmasters. So I joined Toastmasters with two of my other friends. We're like, okay, let's try and better ourselves. And such a different group of people. You had your corporates there. You had people who were coming from an arts background. So it was quite interesting. And for a year and a half, I was very, 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 very I was active in Toastmasters. We'd meet every 2 weeks. I was very active. And I just had this thing that I had to prepare, but I didn't know for what. Gabs FM starts rolling out an advert that they're looking for new on-air talent. Yeah. I hear this advert while I'm driving, and I ignore this advert. I get home, and husband says to me, Gabs FM is looking for radio personalities. I'm like, yeah, I know. I ignore.
Yeah.
A few weeks down the line, my sister calls me, Gabs FM is looking for radio personalities. Yeah, I know. And I think there was a third person who told me, and I'm like, why are these people on my case? Why are these people making noise for me? Why? And then 2 days before the cutoff for applications, I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I listen to Gabs FM. I used to listen to What's Up on Solar. I used to listen to Giselle. I listen to Gabs FM. So why not? And especially for their current affairs. That's what I really enjoyed about the radio station. You learn a lot from them. So I was like, okay, fine. So I did my demo, went to studio, did my was it a 3-minute demo? It was a 3-minute demo.
You did it at Gabs FM?
No, no. You had to find your own ways of bringing in demos. So there's another friend of mine who has a recording studio. I was like, look, I'm coming in. How much are you gonna charge me to do a demo? Don't charge me too much, because you know what, people. His name is Lex. So Lex is like, no, I'll do a demo for you. So we did this demo, and it was so funny because we did the demo. Lex gave me the demo. He sent it to me. I emailed my applications, and then I also physically took. And then Gabs FM kept quiet for 3 months, and I'd forgotten about it. One random day in the beginning of November, I think it was it 2017 or 18? I get a call. Hi, you sent in a demo. Oh, yes, okay, yes, I sent it in. And it was Gabby who called me at the time. It's like, yeah, we've been listening to all the demos. We've been taking 3 months, we've been listening to all the demos, and we've shortlisted you into 50 people who are now shortlisting. 50! Okay, from how many applications? Like close to 500 applications. Okay. I didn't think I was gonna get in. I honestly did. I was just like, okay, let's see what happens. We started training. They teach you how to use the entire system. They teach you the importance of radio, the importance of investigative journalism, the importance of reading, the importance of how to structure a show. So we were going for these training sessions, and we didn't know whether we were going to be in or not. So train. And then during December, we were training. Dollar Mac is one of the people who trained us on air. Kathy Manager trained us. So all these people trained us in terms of how to use the system. And then end of December, I'm told, hey, Do you want to join us?
Wow.
So initially, I started off on a night slot, actually. And then the following year, that's when I went into, Drive Time Radio midday with my co-host, Swift Mboloka. So yeah, I started off the graveyard shift. I was getting home at like 12:30 midnight. So yes, guys, we work our way up. So, and it's so interesting. Some people who didn't know that I was in the graveyard shift, they were like, oh, how did you get to me on midday? I was like, guys, I worked.
Yeah.
I was having to pull all sorts of stunts at night, It was difficult being consistent, especially in winter. Winter at night. It was difficult, but I just decided to push through it. So that's how Gabs FM came about. It was an amazing learning experience because if you're going to be on radio, you have to know what's going on, current affairs. And I think also it really allowed me to step back from, as an artist, it's so easy for us to create this bubble of safety for ourselves, where we shut out all the terrible things that are happening in the world, because this bubble is where the nice things happen. You shut out the fact that some politicians aren't doing what they promised. You shut out crime statistics. You shut out because it can be overwhelming. But when I stepped into radio, I couldn't do that. I had to be fully engaged and fully present and know what's going on. Constantly reading, having an opinion, and not being afraid to voice it, but an opinion that's backed up with facts. Right? You can't just be opinionated everywhere without why do you think it is? Why is it that you believe this? What are you hoping?
Yep.
There were times where we had to do live crossovers to business events, and I was just like, oh my goodness, what is this? Now I must talk business language. There were times where we would go to business expos and actually have live radio there and talk to CEOs and people coming in from outside the country, and it was such a stretching, growing thing. There were times where we had to be crossing over to the State of the Nation address, talking to politicians. It was crazy, but it was amazing because I got to appreciate also from an arts point of view, why is it that it's important for creatives to be part of these conversations when it comes to policies that are being made? Because at the end of the day, yes, we're creatives, but we are people just like everybody else. The price of bread affects us just like everybody else. The price of water, when there's power cuts, it affects us like everybody else. And so it just gave me an appreciation of stepping out of my bubble of safety. Yeah.
All right. So you've been on radio for close to 2 years now. You're hosting one of the biggest shows, the Afternoon Drive, with Swift Mboloka. And then, from what I hear, you guys were just told the day before.
What the day before? Well, it wasn't the day before. What happened is there were changes in management and everything. But when all these changes were going on, this was happening in 2020 last year.
Yes.
I was pregnant last year. Last year was also COVID year. And last year during COVID year, I was really assessing my life. I was like, okay, I love radio, but is the energy I'm putting in here, is it going to take me in the direction that I want to take? Because believe it or not, you remember earlier on I spoke about how priorities, sometimes you have to let go of a certain priority to push in a certain direction. And because I was gigging and everything, but what was suffering from my end is me, making new music as fast as I would love to. All these other aspects of my life were progressing. I was getting speaking engagements. I was doing well on radio. My family was growing, and I was growing as a person. But my music, in terms of me being able to collaborate with people I wanted to, it could not move fast enough because I just didn't have enough of me to spread out. And so last year during COVID, I sat and I thought to myself, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay here? And this is before management change and everything.
Yeah.
Are you gonna stay here? What are you gonna do? Or are you gonna continue here? And I made this decision. I was like, okay, my contract is due for renewal 2021 February. I don't think I want it renewed.
Okay.
And I felt so bad because, you know, my boy Swift, yeah, I felt, but I had the conversation with him and he understood. I said, look, I'm not able to push on certain elements because this is taking all of my energy.
Oh.
So it was thought out. It wasn't just like, you guys you're not gonna be here. So and I get also the frustration and whatnot of some of the people who were there, because the plan was for them to continue being there, but for me, I knew I wasn't going to renew my contract. So, but yeah, there were talks. The station did want me to stay on. They even asked if I would be willing to cut back a few hours and maybe do 1 hour a week alone, and it just didn't work out. Because if you think about it, it was a 3-hour show. But what people don't know is the prep that goes into it. It's not just 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's more than that. If you think of an entire day, you could think maybe 6 hours, double the time. And I just could not spread myself thin anymore. So yeah, there was talk of me doing fewer hours or possibly 1 hour a week or a day. Whatever decision he made would affect me, and whatever decision I made would affect him. And the beauty of co-hosting is it's kind of like shared responsibility. You guys carry each other. And he had to know that I wasn't gonna be around to help carry the load. So, and that would mean more work for him. And I just had to prepare him. Of course, he was like, "Don't go, Sam," but he understood at the end of the day because he didn't really have a choice in the same. He really didn't have a choice in the same. So it was a difficult conversation to have, but I think he also saw it coming, because the conversations we would have towards that conversation, it was leading to that. Because I would tell him, Roresh, I feel like some other elements of mine are suffering, because at the end of the day, I don't want to have burnout. I've got this, and then at the same time, I'm supposed to be a present mother, a present wife. I've got so many things, and right now, this seems to be what's really taking away from me at the moment. So
Okay. So any chances of you going back on air?
Yeah. Why are you asking me such difficult questions? I wouldn't mind, but I think things would be have to be a bit more different, just so that I can continue doing what it is that I'm doing. But these days, people do pre-recorded shows. You can do shows remotely. You know, I think COVID has taught us a lot of things, that you don't have to physically be somewhere. So I think I would really have to weigh the option of, would it serve the bigger vision? I miss radio so much. And I miss interacting with certain callers, and I just miss the Girls FM family. Like, we'd complain about things together, would be happy about things together, and there was this sense of family that I've lost. But yeah, I still talk to my people there, so I'm still very close to my people there, and we still talk, we still communicate. I still pass by sometimes, just like to say hi. So yeah, all is not lost.
Okay.
They understood why I had to step out.
All right. And I see now you're making some music.
Yeah.
Releasing singles.
It's so exciting. The single that I released at the beginning of the year, I went to some guy called Katie Bangers, Zambian / grew up in Botswana, homeboy. That's also a beautiful experience. We're still working on some music together. He's actually brothers with Emu Beats, if you know Emu Beats. If you're into your hip hop and R&B, they're brothers. I'm also doing some work with him. Also doing some work with Stretch. I'm just trying to work. There's new music coming out. We released a single called Beautiful at the beginning of this year. Now we've recently released another song, but this specific song was veering away from the main project, just to do something that has to do with dealing with societal issues. Because I come from a background of stepping away from the commercial music and actually doing things that actually have messaging in it. I'm a firm believer that our art, yes, we must make money from it. We must make money from it. But sometimes as an artist, you need to speak to whatever issue that is close to your heart. Whether it's through film, whether it is through painting, whether it's through visual art, whatever it is that you do. And if my thing is songwriting and singing, then why not? So yeah, working on some new music. Stuff is dropping. A full body of work is dropping early next year.
All right. We can't wait.
And
there's a single that you released recently which talks about men. Yeah.
That song is called Mogwe. And anybody who knows me, they know that I'm part of Sky Girls, and Sky Girls specifically looks at girls and girls' issues. But anybody who also knows me knows that I've got a son, and I just observe everything that's going on, and I honestly want my son to grow up in a world that is better. And I'm trying to do my part in terms of trying to educate. I don't know if you can teach an old dog new tricks, I don't know, but we're gonna try. And also try and be a part of this whole thing of shift in mindset change. Now, this song was released on International Men's Day. It's called Mama Nimbulele. Co-wrote it with a friend of mine called Untitled. It was produced by Stretch. And the whole concept of it comes from the fact that men don't talk. And men don't feel they have safe spaces to talk. And a lot of men will be struggling with issues and they have nowhere to offload. And it's a problem. It's a problem because it's a problem for their mental health. I've got a son. I don't want my son to grow up in a world where he feels he cannot express himself because men have been told that they should not talk and they can handle this because they're the men of the house. And so the whole point of Mama Nimbulele is to talk to that issue. That look, we are trying to show you the safe spaces where you can actually talk. We've talked to specific organizations on the ground that deal with men's issues, like Men and Boys for Gender. We've spoken to specific people who deal with men's issues, and we are directing men to those people so that they know there's a safe place to talk if they need to talk. What I'm also finding out from the conversations that I've had is men actually don't know where the safe spaces are, and that's where we come in to create that dialogue. I've partnered also with Defopaya, I've partnered with my Tiso, and it's not just me, it's just a group of people who see that there's an issue and how can we might not be able to fix it, but what part and what role can we play in order to sensitize people to this issue and in order to channel people to where they can get help. So that's the whole basis of that song.
All right. Due to time, we can talk.
I know, we can talk forever, right?
Forever, yeah. Due to time, we have to release you. You have to go and take care of the babies.
Yeah, it's time for the babies now.
Yeah.
I think the babies are sleeping now. I forced them to sleep at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was him disciplined babies to sleep at a certain time.
All right. So in closing, what can you say, to Samantha, Mogwe fans, Botswana, and everybody?
I was about to channel my inner 80. I demand on Botswana girl at Peg.
Yeah.
But I won't do that. I think my fans and people who've been really supporting me, there's some people who, they've been supporting. And I really, really appreciate that. And, I don't take for granted. And even on social media, I really try to respond to as many comments as I can, as many DMs as I can. Sometimes I don't get to do that, but it's me responding. It's not somebody else responding. But just gratitude and appreciation for supporting me, and also for understanding and allowing me to grow and evolve. Because sometimes you get a lot of fans who don't want you to evolve and who don't want you to grow. But for the people who are true fans of my work, they've been a part of the growth process. And I think it's just a beautiful experience. New music coming out in 2022. I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. I've got some amazing gems ready.
Wow. Samantha, when it's all said and done,
Yep.
what you want to be remembered for?
Why are you making us think of deep things?
Remember, this podcast be watched by your babies. They are babies and they are babies.
Yeah, it's gonna be up forever, right?
Yes.
I think I want to be remembered for being the person who showed people that it could be done. You know, it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's it.
It can be done.
Yeah. All right. Sammy, thank you so much for being part of this awesome episode.
Thank you.